Welcome to the train of thought. Please stand behind the yellow line as we're about to approach the station. Today's destination, silence. Today's destination, silence. Welcome to the Train of Thought podcast, where we train our thoughts for a better life. Brought to you by the Poetic Wit. I'm your host, Aaron Patrick, and with me,
Solomon Yao.
Yeah, and today we want to take the time and the opportunity to touch upon a really important topic as we have been experiencing the past week, in recent news, right? But for now, let's just it's been a while since we talked to each other, right, Solomon? And
yeah, man.
For those of y'all who are wondering, like, who are we? How are we? Why are we? What are we?
I sincerely don't know if they really do worry, but yeah, we're just gonna talk anyway.
We are gonna talk anyway.
Between two friends, man. Between two friends.
Yeah. So, like, yeah. How's your week been, man?
Oh man, it's been, if anything, it's been super hectic / not as draining as it initially was. But now, I mean, obviously now I'm coming from a place where it's all over. I was having my mid-semester exams this whole week. And on top of that, like, with this whole outbreak of everything on social media, and it's been just juggling between everything, and not to say that it's been such a huge part of everything, but yeah, man, my exams have been quite, if anything, quite draining, having to wake up super early to prep and to just get ready for the exam. But aside from that, bless the Lord, I am done.
Yeah,
and,
come on.
I'm done, dude. I'm happy. I'm hoping for a 1 week break, but I really doubt they'll give it. But whatever, man. You just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah, come on. That's some motivation right there.
Man. How have you been, man?
Well, I on the other hand, I would really love a really long, good break. Ever since the MCO happened, the whole COVID situation and stuff, I don't know how many others would relate with me on this. It's just so, demotivating, having to stay in one place, the whole time and stuff. So, the past week, it was Raya break, and it made me sort of forget like all my other assignments except for one particular assignment that was due on that week. And then, and then I was just so caught up with just like, doing all sorts of things, online shopping and hobbies, and then visiting relatives and things like that. Then when I come back and it comes to the next week, this week actually, and so happened I had to like rush an assignment on the day it's due on that day itself, because I realized that, I had an assignment. I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. It's one of those where you just suddenly like, oh my gosh, I have this and I forgot about it, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was sort of put me in a shock, and I was like, okay, just because it's MCO doesn't give you the permission to freaking procrastinate and stuff. I really gotta get back on track, Somehow this is like my final semester in diploma, and I really can't wait to just graduate from my diploma course right now. I'm so eager, but man, so
dude, you gotta enjoy while it lasts, man. All these little things, they matter, dude. And like, I bet you're gonna miss it. Okay, you won't fully miss it. That's not for everyone, but I bet there's gonna be a part of you that will be like, yo, like, I miss my college / uni days ish, So yeah, but then I totally understand how you feel with like the whole, like, oh my gosh, like suddenly like the deadline is today, and you just, what, like, dude, the whole time you've been thinking like, man, I keep forgetting something. Then all of a sudden, boom, like you have it. You're like, oh man, yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah, and on top of that, I still have ongoing assignments, and even this week itself, it hasn't necessarily been all too productive. I try the progress, but you know the drill lah. You sleep late, you sleep long, and then like you end up doing something else first, gaming or chores, and like you don't have that extra mood to like assignments.
All these distractions, dude.
All these distractions.
Yeah.
Is this podcast another one of them? Ooh.
Ooh, we don't know that. This is called productivity, people.
we need to reprioritize our priorities and reorder our whole life And I
Amen,
think
brother.
I think that's for another podcast episode. Reorganizing your life. Not sure
Oh my God.
who's gonna be, who I'm gonna talk to about that, but stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to better days. We're all looking forward to better days, and
Yeah, man.
that's what we're gonna talk about. Touch a bit upon on this episode. Everyone's just looking to a better day.
Yeah.
So how. Okay, I'm just going to briefly touch upon recent news. Do check it out yourself. Do check out the news yourself if you've been living under a rock or in a cave or anything. Do look up the news, and I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of the things that are happening. It started when there was a video that's been circulating the internet, has been going viral and stuff about how this white police officer, his name we found out his name to be Derek Chauvin, right? This white police officer arrested an African American, a black man by the name of George Floyd. And it's allegedly to be over a counterfeit $20 bill. So the video, how the video goes is like he was arrested, he was cuffed, he was laying on the ground on his stomach, and what's worse is that the police officer, Mr. Derek, he sort of placed his knee on his neck, where the throat or the what was it, the artery was. And sort of like cut off his blood circulation and he found and George was like in very heavy like very difficult. It's very difficult for him to breathe. And for like up to 9 minutes straight.
Exactly.
So
10 minutes.
Like up to like 9, 8, 9, 10 minutes even. His pressure on that point on the neck, made him suffocate and lost consciousness, and even to the point of he died. His death and stuff, and this sort of sparked an outrage for like Americans and even netizens worldwide. It's become such a worldwide issue. How racism, and racism has been going on for quite a long time already. Even the Black Lives Matter movement, it didn't just started like recently. It has been going on since 2014. It's been
I guess by Google it's like officially since 2014, but like it's been a worldwide thing. Like it happens in the UK and many other countries as well.
And everyone's just talking about it, like because it's not just about yes, of course we're talking about Black Lives Matter because African Americans or people of African ethnicity anywhere in the world face this kind of discrimination and racism that is against them. But we're not just talking about we're not just talking about the Black lives that matter. We're also talking about the lives that have been discriminated against, the racism that has been happening around the world. This is a talk about racism around the world. So it has been an issue, everywhere, even on social media, where you see everyone just like, quoting hashtag Black Lives Matter, justice for George Floyd, and they are going around sharing things. I think there's a lot of like a mixture of things that you can find online on this issue. The whole thing about, being social media, this whole social media wokeness, I would say. Some people, they take the opportunity to like jump on the bandwagon of hashtags. You would see all this Insta story spams of like, black image and what hashtag, Black Lives Matter, don't break the chain, and then you'll be tagging people and this and that, and then people will be like, you have to say something about it, and then you have to choose your stance and things like that. And then it's even come to the point where some people would say that if you're not speaking about it, if you're not speaking up for it, if you stay silent, you're gonna be part of the problem, and stuff like that. So right. But at the same time, I find that perhaps not always, it's not necessarily always being part of the problem. Or is it really like, is being silent always necessarily being part of the problem? like even to the worst extent
Okay.
of evil. So, taking from these quotes such as Napoleon, the world suffers a lot, not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. Even Martin Luther King Jr. says, the silence of the good people is more dangerous than the brutality of the bad people. Then, there are other quotes that, MLK says that, on silence, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So I think more than just the talk about racism. Yeah, sure. We would like, I think, because this is an ongoing thing, but more than just racism, we are talking about the injustices that happen in our world today, the very rights and wrongs of our system and the world, and more than that, we want to talk about central to all of this is how we are talking about it. It's about silence. And my question here is, what if being silent isn't necessarily evil or necessarily always evil, but it's sort of a way to help the situation better, a way to remove yourself from the equation, not to add fuel to the fire, but to observe, meditate, and so make a better decision from there. And also, like sort of help society. In other words, can silence, instead of evil, can silence mean a safety precaution? So I'm just going to briefly bring up this thing that I did just recently before we started recording this podcast episode, right? So I posted the same question. So if you're silent about insert issue here, then you're part of the problem. But is that necessarily always the case? Then there's this thing where you vote yes, no. So I put silence is evil and is safe. A lot of people gravitate towards the part where silence is evil. And they have this sentiment. I think it has been so ingrained in our society. At least for those who are like educated, that if you do not speak up for an issue, it's going to help the oppressor. If you don't speak up for an issue, you're not helping at all. And a lot of people are leaning towards that sentiment. I'm just going to read out a few answers that people, like some of my friends, have provided. Okay. One person says silence is not the same evil as the main oppressor, but still evil as they do not help those who suffer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the next response. It depends on the situation. Silence in the library is fine, but in the midst of evil, no, it's not fine. Okay, this one was quite witty. Another friend of mine, she's a Christian, so I'm just gonna read something. She sent 2 Bible references. One is from Proverbs 31 verse 8 to 9. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and needy. Okay.
Yeah.
And another one from 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 13 to 15. For I do not mean that others should be eased and you burdened, but that as a matter of fairness, your abundance at the present time should supply their need, so that their abundance may supply your need, that there may be fairness. As it is written, whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. So it's talking about, if you're from a place of privilege, you might as well help those who are in need. And when they are blessed in the abundance, they can help you in need, and then there is that level of fairness right there. Okay, and then there's another one. Another friend says, no, silence is evil because you're no better than the attacker if you're going to be like that. So I see a lot of us, we have gravitated towards how silence has always, contributed to the problem, as in because we do not speak up and speak enough about these issues and why these issues matter and why these issues are bad, But, there's this one person who voted, she was on the minority, so voted, how silence is also sometimes safe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh, you mean like in the poll, like how there's like one side that's more than the other?
Yeah. So a lot of people voted, silence is evil. Then there's that one small bit.
Okay. What did she say? Yeah.
So I'm just gonna read what she sent me. She DM'd me after she voted because answer's pretty long. Okay, this is from a friend of mine. Her name's Charmaine. Shout out to her. If you're listening in. So I'm just gonna read what she sent me. I think that silence is safe because it's better than running your mouth and saying hurtful things to others. From what I learned in psychology, silence is a way to allow clients to reflect on their thoughts or the situation. So in a way, silence allows people to reflect on the situation, gather their facts and whatnot before actually talking about it. It doesn't necessarily mean that if someone is silent about an issue, they're actually supporting it. It might be because they haven't found their stance, or they might be scared to voice out because of judgment or some other reason. And then she added on saying, I think that sometimes people perceive silence as something bad because it might be how they were brought up, especially in schools. I've been called out one too many times for being too quiet. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not really good as well, because the teachers are just basically teaching kids that they must have an opinion on everything and that they must be able to share it out. So the point being, we, like I said, we have been it's been so ingrained into our minds that we ought to take a stance on a certain issue. But actually, more than being on the left or the right or on good or evil, there are that group of people who actually remove themselves and actually see things on the bigger picture and want to observe and view both sides and things like that, and they want to learn from it as well. And then she sent me a quote by Warren Buffett. You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. True power is sitting back and observing things with logic. True power is restraint. If words control you, that means everyone controls you. Is that what you said? Or everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass. And then, she said that, I saw this quote. I'm not sure if it's relevant to the topic or not, but hope it helps. Okay. But then I sort of retorted, because there was this situation where, why I made the point where, silence sometimes can be good, because, in my point of view, I felt that for myself, like I would rather be silent. It's not because of the attitude of, why should I be bothered? It's none of my business, but because I feel that, perhaps I'm not really ready to actually publicly take a stand on it, because I feel that, I like the information or perhaps the in-depth understanding, which is actually needed to, inform others. So, I don't want to end up like I say something and then I mislead others, or saying something stupid, which will actually get people to like call me out. So take, for example, let's say if you were to go back to that quote, you will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. But talk about ex-Miss Universe Malaysia 2017.
Oh, okay. You want to go there? Like, dang, okay.
Okay. I mean, sure, she already like apologized and stuff. So like,
hold on. Do you want to say like what she said? Like,
oh god, okay,
okay. Like, so maybe I'll touch on this because like, we were talking about it the other day. I was just like, I was gonna fume.
Yeah, man, go ahead. Like, explain.
Okay. So what she said was like basically why she became a topic of conversation was because
a controversy, rather.
Yeah, it's a controversy, but because basically when all of this was happening, she basically said that black people chose to like be born black or like black African Americans chose to be and there may be like more to it. Like then again, like what we say is, don't shit on something when you don't fully know what it is. But for me, at that moment in time when this whole thing was going on, that was the dumbest ish I've ever heard. Like, and I'm trying to censor it as well. Like, that was the dumbest ish I've ever heard because, man, like, your bearings, man. Like, but yeah, that's when maybe sometimes silence is much highly appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. Some people who actually saw through her point, despite the whole the way she brought it up, despite the way she brought it up, there was that point, that there was this quote that, my friend Shamin just shared, alongside her points, the whole thing about not having an emotional reaction and stuff like that, which, if I were to quote, Miss Universe Malaysia, pointed out. But at the same time, like, you're going, the way you say it also, and like, because you said it in that way, not in that way, because you said it, it carries a lot of like, it's like you're downplaying that situation. You're telling black people to like, oh, this racism thing is just a small challenge for you to overcome, and like you chose this to be born this way. I'm like, my fam, bro, sis, like, you don't, you chose to be what?
Well, I mean, to be fair, we, like, as third people that see it on social media, we don't truly know what went on in her mind, because when anything that's shown up on social media, it's up for the general public to judge, right? So we never know what she actually posted could be an actual interpretation of what she actually really wanted to get across, because you never know when some people just, some people just surefire things and they just truly don't think behind it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously we're just trying not to judge fully, but yeah, like, obviously when you're first hearing those type of things, you're just the first emotional reaction is just like, dude, that's the dumbest bleepity bleep bleep that you'll ever hear. And it's like, man, but yeah, like, I think it's also important for us to not view it from a stance of like, we truly, oh my gosh, like, we're going to get on her. I feel like also maybe like, maybe she just truly didn't know, or she just truly isn't educated on that.
I mean, and because of that, because they don't really agree with whatever she said, a lot of people, ended up like sort of cyberbullying her in a way. And stuff.
But then again, those are the consequences to your actions.
Right.
Like, that's what happens. And especially when you carry the title of Miss Universe Malaysia, right?
Man.
Or something like that. Yeah, and your people are subjected to a higher opinion / a higher like podium-ish, or like people put, so you are viewed as a social media figure. So obviously the backlash would be huge compared to someone probably, if just general Joe, right, that will just post on social media, they will get the backlash from the people following them. But obviously because this is social media, right? So it blows up because she is Miss Universe Malaysia, right? So
not the current one, but like, what, 3 years ago.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know. So sorry, continue, man.
That's just one of the instances, why I think that sometimes silence is wise, and perhaps it's safe. Not everyone has to have like an opinion on something, or like immediately. I just want to quote this tweet that I found recently, and what I brought up with Solomon just a while ago. Yeah, there was this one username Trish. She said, F anyone with the "if you're not using your platform to raise awareness, you're a coward" mindset. No one is obligated to post on topics they are not comfortable with. Doesn't mean that they haven't done things to support the cause. It's just that heavy topics on SOCMED is not meant for everyone. So so the point she tweeted is that it's not necessarily that everyone just has to speak up on something. Like, if you can, and if you are speaking up on it, that's good for you and good for the society. If it's right information, true, accurate information, helpful information that will also support people and actually help make the world a better place, a safer place, then that's very good. But at the same time, I'm actually leaning towards this thing where sometimes silence is wise and is safe because of a few things, like how you're not exactly comfortable yet to talk about it or make a public stance on it, or rather that we feel that we're not as equipped as people who are actually super well informed that are able to make a difference and things like that. So it's that fear. It's that fear of it's either that fear of scrutiny or that fear of misleading others just because. Like personally, I do have the stance to say that, I feel that racism is wrong against any color really, that it is wrong. human beings are all the same. We all bleed the same, and we all should be kind to one another. We all should be good with one another. You know, we should not be murdering people. We should not be hating on people just because. We just need to love one another. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and then love God with all your heart. Love everyone. Yeah. You know, but at the same time, you know, I feel that there are times where I hesitate to speak up about these issues or share stuff because I don't want to necessarily add fuel to fire. You know, how people are hopping on our opportunities
opportunities.
Yeah, taking the opportunity to simply just hop on bandwagons and just joining for the hype of the situation. But when the hype dies down, you know, are you going to continue to fight for these people, to fight for the, you know, for those who are suffering injustice and things like that, you know, or is it just for the hype? You know, talk about going out on protests or so. Some people are doing peaceful protests. Then there are just this small bunch of people who are like looting and destroying stores and things like that. Hey, come on lah, you know. Right. So yeah, that's why I think I'm just gonna pass the time to my friend here. You know, Solomon, what do you think about this whole situation? Is it necessarily always, you know, is silence necessarily always evil? And
I first of all, I want to just say that, like, I understand where you're coming from. Also, like, I think it's a good topic to talk about, actually. So you started out with quotes, right? So actually, I'm going to start my take with quotes, a little bit, some quotes actually, like multiples, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
So, I'll just start, right? So it's silence at a proper season is wisdom and better than any speech, quoted by Plutarch. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends, which is what you said earlier. Martin Luther King Jr., MLK. To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men, Abraham Lincoln. Silence is foolish if we are wise, but wise if we are foolish, Charles Caleb Colton. And to touch on your question, like, is silence inherently evil? Well, silence isn't inherently evil, but the oppressor, they benefit from it, right? So, to touch on this topic, so obviously this is a very, very sensitive topic that's been going on around the world, right? And I think it even trickles down to us as, you know, younger people and in the social media era, right? And everyone, and by all means, like, everyone has an opinion and everyone is just to their opinion. Like, heck, we're on this podcast talking about what we take away from all of this and everything that's been going on, right? So everyone is open and subjugated to, like, you know, judgment, right, of your opinion, because whether it may be right to you doesn't necessarily mean it's entirely right to the other person, right? And everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and it's fair for people to judge one another in that sense, all right? I feel that personally, like, I don't think silence is evil, but I feel that silence with ignorance and incompetence is evil. So what I mean by that is that when someone chooses to be, like, my last quote, silence is foolish if we are wise, but wise if we are foolish. I really, really believe that when sometimes you truly don't know about something or you truly don't know the matter at hand or the issue at hand, maybe that's when wisdom comes into play, and you choosing to be silent is if anything, the wisest choice that you can possibly be. But when you aren't educated on the matter and when you truly don't know what's going on, and you choose to speak from that, that's incompetence, that's arrogance, that's ignorance. And you're coming from a place where you truly don't have your facts together and you're trying to speak on behalf of something that you truly do not know, right? And a lot of, and you can see that it's happening on social media a lot, where there have been a lot of people that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say woke, but, you know, like, to jump on that, on what you said, like, a lot of people have been, not to say jumping on the bandwagon, I am not one to judge, you know, I feel that the reason why all of this has been brought up, Black Lives Matter, is a good movement because it basically puts it out on social media, hey, this is an issue that is needed to be known of, and it's important for the generations and the now generation and the generations to come to know what racism is and what's going on and what white supremacy is and all of the above and all the million and one things that's happening within the world. And I think it's a good thing because maybe that's what social media is actually meant for, like to educate the younger generations and properly. And obviously it's subjugated to the wrong things, but it obviously has its pros and cons, right? But to talk about the matter, when you choose to be silent about something that you truly do know of, that's when it's ignorant and arrogance, and if you choose to not educate yourself on the matter, I feel that especially with this matter, you say how, for you truly don't know about it, so you would rather stay silent, right?
Yep.
Then my question to the people that want to choose to stay silent, it's fine, but are you doing the necessary things to actually educate yourself on the matter, right? And to actually know what's going on? Because racism isn't something that is just a small issue. It's a part of society. If you are a functioning member of society, I truly believe that you have to take responsibility for it. Like, I feel like racism is bound in each and every single one of us. We all have a slight bit of racism that we probably just really don't know about, right? And it may be the little things that happen within our days that we actually, to us, may not be. But if we look at it in hindsight, it could be, it could be even the little things as hearing your parents talk about it and you choosing not to voice out about it. So that's when the oppressor benefits, right? And I feel like it's so important for each and every single one of us to educate ourselves on this matter, especially with the movement of Black Lives Matter. Like, I think it's important for all of us to educate ourselves on what the Black African American history is, right? And why this movement is actually a thing, right? And it's so sad that it took many Black African American lives to be lost for this thing to be such a worldwide known thing. And like Will Smith quoted this really, really well. Racism doesn't just pop out of nowhere. Shouldn't be a surprise. Racism shouldn't be a surprise, but now it's just being videotaped. And social media is a thing, dude. Like, it's basically all over the internet. Anyone can get access to this, and everyone has a phone. Everyone has a camera phone on their to record something and to put out there. So racism shouldn't come as a surprise, right? And to touch more on it, when someone truly doesn't know about an issue or about a matter, and I feel that everyone, all the quotes of saying, like, if you don't speak up on this, you're siding with the oppressor. I think that's the truth behind that. Like, it's to an extent, like what I said, is the oppressor benefits from the silence, thus prompting the question: are we educating ourselves enough to not be silent about the matter, and to choose to be silent when we are truly educated about the matter? That is probably when ignorance and incompetence kicks in, and us choosing and willfully and willingly choosing not to speak on the matter. And even those that are willingly speaking on the matter, I really think that we all should educate ourselves, and those that are actually speaking on the matter, we all should actually educate ourselves on the proper matter, like without coming in from an emotional standpoint, but more of an education standpoint and a standpoint of trying to educate one another and to be peaceful about it. Because I feel that the movement has turned, which is very, very good. Like, it's the movement in itself it's an amazing thing, but there has been so much anger behind it from not only both sides, but just in general, like people all over social media. And I think my stance on it is just seeing it from social media and everyone that has been tweeting about it on my Twitter. My Twitter's been blowing up, dude, and Instagram and all of these things. And like, silence at a proper season is so needed. And right now, I truly believe that maybe in this season, silence isn't necessarily the most needed thing, but actually for people to speak up. Right? But it is not evil when you do not know what it is. And it is not evil when you are not educated fully on what the matter is. But it is evil when you choose not to educate yourself on it. And it is ignorant when you choose to look the other way. And it's ignorant and it's incompetent and arrogant for you to not want to know about it. And that's what I feel about it. But, a lot of people on social media, especially in our country and probably many other countries out there too, right, have been really, speaking on this matter. And a lot of people have been saying, all of this is going on in America, but I'm sorry, but I see all these people jumping on this bandwagon, but how about the things that have been happening in Malaysia? Or how about the things that have happened in Syria, Iraq, and all of these places, right? And I want to say this, that I really truly believe, and shout out to my girlfriend because she really brought this up to me and she made me realize this, is that people have been belittling issues since basically the start of time. When one issue pops up and another pops up, the thing of old becomes old and you forget about that. But even though it's still a thing, people move on to the new thing. And I feel that we should actually all stop trying to belittle one's opinions and one's issues. Like whatever happens in America and the racism that happens there, yes, racism happens in Malaysia itself too, right? We in our society deal with our own type of racism, but that doesn't demean the fact that just because we aren't speaking up on the entirely on the issue of what's happening here doesn't mean that we should belittle what's going on there. A lot of people have been saying, we should focus on this, we should focus, but at this moment in time, this has happened in America for an X amount of time, and this happens in our country for an X amount of time, and no one issue is higher than the other. All issues and all problems are equally noticeable and all equal and are all equally unjust. Yeah. It's just a matter of us taking action to them. And we can bring them up, but we can bring them up in a manner where it doesn't belittle or it doesn't demean what's happening, because all of their problems and all the problems that are persisting and happening are of their own perspective, portrait of words and pictures painted out, and Black Lives Matter is an international movement. It has happened before and it's a good thing. And it speaks on racism, and obviously that should trickle down to how we view racism in our country and many other countries as well, right? So I really truly feel that everyone should just come from a place of trying not to belittle or demean, but actually try to educate and try to help one another into learning all these things. And there's been so much like hate and like fight backs to each other on social media. A lot of people have been like keyboard warriors, which, it's social media, right? But I feel like we all should come from a place of trying to educate and help one another. And, for those that truly aren't educated on the matter and try not to speak on the matter, and for those people and for the people that are actually getting on the people that are not speaking on the matter, I feel like sometimes it's also important on, because personally, I would like to say that I speak a little bit on the matter with what I can. And I'm not trying to speak on behalf of the African Americans, but you just show support, right? It's also important for those that are trying to show support to not speak on behalf of another's issue. Like, I am not Black African American, right? I am a vivid listener of hip hop and rap, and I love music in that way. But I can't necessarily say that I went through what they went through, all of the stuff that they went through. And music is amazing because it is a form of expression and it teaches you to do things, to understand what they went through. But we have to speak from a place of empathy instead of trying to be insertive of yourself and trying to speak on a matter which you basically kind of not necessarily inherently have gone through the matter. So I feel that's where a lot of people, and why it's called the bandwagon, because not a lot of people have really thought about it in that way. Like everyone's been speaking about the issue on their terms instead of understanding that it's not them that had to go through it, and you can show support and you can ally with that community without having to insert yourself into it, and that's also important. But yeah, like to talk to people and to educate them on those that don't know without being super emotionally involved and being mad, I feel is so important as well, to help educate and to come from a place of peace instead of hostility, right? And to set boundaries on people and to be able to know that, hey, try to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And when people actually do those racist things, then I think that's when, silence shouldn't be a thing. That's when you need to speak up against them and not only be mad, but help educate the person, because sometimes people just truly don't know what it is, and it's sad to see that now all of this is blowing, especially with the passing of George Floyd. Like, it's been so I'm a frequent follower of sports and the NBA, and I'm a huge basketball fan, but I'm also a huge NFL fan. And I've been seeing, there've been countless protests in sports, and it's talking about I can't breathe, and all the racism things, like the thing that happened with the Los Angeles Clippers in I think 2015, 2014, I forgot, racist owner, and Eric Garner, I can't breathe too, Abdullah Omar Muhammad, Alton Sterling, Philantro Castile, George Floyd, right? And it is just sad to see. And man, 2020 has been so tough. And I feel this is where change happens. And I feel that as functioning members of society, right, that as functioning members of society, we all are responsible for the change that happens within our society. And we are all responsible for the needed moving forward with everything. And change happens when you take full responsibility for your actions and the things that you do wrong and your mess ups and all the bad and all the million and one things that you did wrong.
Yep.
And you accept them and you move forward with them. And you choose to be better and you choose to know better and you choose to educate yourself on matters that you truly don't know. And to not speak of a place of foolishness, but to speak from a place of being wise and to try to help others that are in need. And I think that, it is so needed for all of us to really just come together instead of trying to divide ourselves, and that's just, it's not a one night thing. This won't be fixed in one night. Racism in America or even in all the countries out there, it won't be fixed over just one incident. Like, it's been happening for God knows how long, since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel the change needs to happen and it will happen. And I for one, am optimistic of it. And it's just the little steps that we all individually and singularly take to make a better society and world for, even though we are young, like we're 20, right? I'm 20, Aaron's 20.
Yep.
It is all the little things that we take and we do as functioning members of society to learn and to make a better future for our future generations and our future kids, and even for the generation now that we're living in.
Yeah.
It is so important to come from a place of peace and not hostility and trying to help educate one another. And it starts with that, man. It starts with coming from a nice place and coming from the place of wanting to educate and to learn about one another's culture and to love one another. And, Aaron stated earlier that, like, love your enemy or your brother, like they're your family member, it's in the Bible, and as a Christian, personally, we're trying to be as Christ-like as we can be. And we want to just love one another, and it's not, it's not something that shouldn't be taken into consideration. I believe that love is important and it applies to each and every single thing out there, and especially with this matter, and especially with all the issues that's been happening in the world sometimes. And yeah, man. So I would say that, silence isn't really evil, but number one, not only the oppressor benefits from it, but, when you willingly choose to not know about the issue, that's when it's evil, trying not to educate yourself on it. And, for your case, I would say that, what you say is true. It's sometimes it's better to not speak on a matter because you might add fuel to the fire, which you truly don't know what you're doing, right? And I'll say that's very, very fair. The only one thing I'll say to it is probably just try to educate yourself on it. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing it. And even if you are semi-educated on it and you speak up on it and show support, that's fine too. And if you get it wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. Just try to learn from it and educate yourself even more from it, and try not to be super insensitive about it. Try to be sensitive about the topic. And I really feel that everyone just needs to take some things with a pinch of salt also. But at the same time, everyone should be taking, especially this series of matters, like, for real, and not demean whatever that's going on in the world. But so that's my take on it, man.
Yeah, I really agree with what Solomon shared, especially the part on how we should, as functioning members of society, how we ought to impact our society by educating ourselves and even making the changes, towards, that, towards that change. I was actually going to add on, like, the whole saying where, charity actually begins at home, and it's actually kind of true. It starts. If you want to make a change in your, like, let's say, not even the global community, maybe even in your own city or even in your own taman, your own,
or even among your, like, group of friends, like,
But it really starts from, let's say, at home, where even among your family members, that is like your immediate community already. But most importantly is yourself. It all comes from a place of is there anything I need to change in myself, my attitude towards these matters and the people around me, so that I can help effect the change that is immediately around me first, before I reach out to larger, audiences and larger groups of people, or, venturing further out from where I usually am. Because really, we're all talking about, let's say in the context of us like being Christians, right? We all want to go on mission trips. We all want to go to places where, let's say, the good news is not preached at, or like we want to do charity work in other like more rural areas and things like that. But then there are problems happening at home that you haven't fixed yet, and then you're trying to go out there and like, so we don't need missionaries, or we don't need charity workers out there when you are actually placed where you are for a reason. So if you want to effect change, start with where you are immediately first, right? And I gotta give props to Solomon for that point. It's good to like, I think we can sort of come to this agreement, this middle ground here, where we can say that yes, silence does actually sort of contribute to the oppressing party. It sort of helps the oppressor, but silence can be speaking out can be foolish if like you're speaking out the wrong things, or things for the wrong reasons, right? Right.
And it's so important to speak from like a knowledgeable standpoint, because man, if you speak from a place where you truly don't know anything, dude, you're gonna
end up like X-Miss Malaysia, Universe Malaysia.
Oh god, okay.
Oh goodness.
Okay, I think that's enough shade on our point, on our end.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
Yeah, it's all good, dude. But yeah, man, like just to end, like it's so important, man. It's really, really important, and to not only speak from a place of knowledge, but to also try to be knowledgeable about it. I feel like not only silence has like kind of taken over like that point. I feel like to actually want to be knowledgeable is such an important thing as well. To want to educate ourselves, to want to be better, to want to make that change, to want to be better, to take responsibility for all the actions that we have done. Like that is such an important thing as well. And I feel like you said, like the change starts at home, right? It starts with us, right? And we are the change. Like seriously, like our generation, and this is for everyone that's listening, and like our generation, we start the change. Like maybe it's about time we stop yearning for change, but actually start doing the little things that help with it.
Yeah.
And especially with this ongoing issue and matter, like personally, like this is my wish, and I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be it, but I truly believe that if we can educate ourselves on this matter, and not only what's going on in America, but probably even within our country, since everyone wants to talk about even in our country, right? I feel that it's so important for us to educate ourselves on what's going on, like not only in our country, but what's going on in the world, and to not belittle other things that are happening in the world, and to be able to actually just, come from a place of understanding and to say that, hey, this is going on, and let's do our best to try to make the change in whatever way we can. And if that's possible, we'll do so. If it doesn't, then hey, at least we can come out of it knowing that we tried our best. And let's just all start to make that change. And whether it comes by, telling yourself to stop using certain words, or whether it be appreciating culture, or whether it be less insulting other people, but actually encouraging, or even just educating your family members on it, just the little things that will make the change. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, so good. Right. I think if there's ever one takeaway from all of this, is that it's actually a matter of wisdom, really.
Yeah, man.
Being wise as to when to be silent and when to speak up, and then like silence doesn't always necessarily mean you're siding with the oppressor, though it does sort of benefit the oppressor, oppressing and then continuing that cycle of oppression and violence and stuff. But really, like, sometimes you really gotta be wise and to say like, and to actually know when to, say stuff and speak up when needed. But then, it doesn't necessarily mean you always have to say something. Otherwise, you're gonna end up saying something dumb. So so I think if there's ever one takeaway from this, silence can sometimes be the wisest option, so that people who are not as educated may take the time and steps to actually educate themselves on issues, reflect on them, and then speak out when they can and be helpful in doing so.
Yeah, I did.
So, and like what Solomon mentioned also, speak from a place of this, peace, and also trying to help educate instead of like, hostility and trying to belittle one another. Just because someone knows less than you, or is just acting stupid and dumb and stuff, that doesn't give you the right to, sort of cyberbully them and put them down and things like that. Be a friend and actually help build each other up out of love, and like not, being toxic and hostile to each other and stuff like that. Is there anything you want to add on?
I think, like, it's so true. And also on top of that, like when people do try to educate one another, and like touching on the thing of saying like, instead of out of hostility, I feel that, especially when it's on social media, I feel like a lot of people do some dumb stuff on social media. I had to catch myself there.
Oh, okay.
And like, it's so important for people to actually just try, and obviously some people are keyboard warriors and they try to be ignorant and stuff like that. And sometimes all you need to do is just say your part and just leave, man. Like, there's no point in trying to educate someone who doesn't want to be educated. And that's when it's ignorance, So yeah, like, everyone just try to do their part, and the world will hopefully be a better place. So yeah, man, that's just my thing.
Wow, so good. So that's all we have on like today's episode of the Train of Thought podcast. Thanks a lot for listening in, right? So
thank you so much, people.
Yeah, thanks a lot for listening in, supporting us. Do share this episode if you think it's helpful. Share this whole podcast. We've got a list of like other episodes, just ready for you to, more than just listening in on our conversations. I would like to also invite you to come join us, actually come and collaborate with us on this little project, talk about things, share your thoughts and opinions, actually help people, like I said, actually help people reflect and then also act on their situation so as to move forward in life. And this is also the platform to sort of like, me and Solomon talked about is not just to bring about that change from within ourselves, in our immediate circle of family and friends and our community, and also, hopefully even to the larger public, square as well. Just to help people move forward, move on, and improve themselves. It's a lot, but we just want to take the opportunity to, invite you, come join us, and let's move forward together.
We need more people.
We need more people, guys. So right. This is the Train of Thought podcast, brought to you by The Poetic Wit. I'm your host, Aaron Patrick.
And this is Solomon Yao.
And we are signing out. Peace.
Peace.
Let's go. Let's get it. Don't be racist.
Dope.
Be educated. Let's go.
Yeah, man.